There is breaking news out of a federal courthouse in New York. I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show, where Sean Combs has been found not guilty on the majority of counts against him and has been found guilty of only the two least serious crimes that he was charged with. There is little question that this is a defeat for the prosecution. The two counts on which he's been found guilty are transportation to engage in prostitution. There were two counts of it with respect to Cassie Ventura and Jane, who testified under a pseudonym, and he has been found not guilty on racketeering, not guilty on sex trafficking with respect to Cassie Ventura and with respect to Jane. Both of those sex trafficking counts required 15 years minimum in prison. The RICO count that he's been found not guilty of was a sentence of 20 to life, though it didn't have a mandatory minimum. So the sex trafficking ones were extremely serious, 15 years minimum. And he's escaped liability on both of those. He's escaped criminal guilt on both of those. It was going to be a miracle. It was going to be an obvious jury nullification if he escaped a guilty verdict on transportation to engage in prostitution. The evidence was overwhelming that he did that. There were receipts. There was testimony by the escorts. It was very clear that Sean Combs did pay these male escorts to cross state lines and to come into his various hotel rooms and have sex with his girlfriends, Cassie and Jane. And they had him dead to rights on that. I mean, he really should have pled guilty on those. And I've been saying all along, if they found him not guilty on those, it would prove that this has been a total nullification of the jury. He was a famous man and they didn't want to find him guilty because it's very clear he did those two. It is stunning that he managed to escape a guilty verdict on RICO, less stunning on RICO, but on sex trafficking, where the evidence was just overwhelming on the fact that he did threaten at least Cassie and Jane over and over again. He beat both women when they would not comply with his demands. But clearly what we're seeing here is the jury bought and believed the defense argument that these women had agency, that these women were not forced to do anything. The defense got up there and argued that they were swingers, that they were engaging in a swinger lifestyle, notwithstanding the beatings it took to get them to comply in certain instances. The jury clearly bought that. There was testimony that would be helpful for the defense. I don't mean to scoff at the conclusion entirely. There was testimony to support a not guilty, including text messages from Cassie Ventura saying, "I can't wait to freak off. I love our freak offs when we both want them." And testimony that Cassie stayed in part because she loved the lifestyle. She loved the trappings of life with Diddy. And Jane is still having her apartment paid for by Sean Combs to this moment. And there definitely could be a takeaway that Jane was in it because she wanted the apartment and she wanted to be connected with somebody famous and rich, and not because she had any fear for her life or otherwise, or retribution if she submitted. New York Times reporting here, color from inside the courtroom. Sean Combs is smiling as he shook one of his lawyer's hands and turned again to look at his family. He put his hands together in prayer and mouthed, thank you," at the jury. That's the right thing to say, Sean Combs. He pumped his right fist. Yep, this is exactly the right attitude for Sean Combs, who just got away with serious felonies, in my view. He's guilty as sin, in my view, and this jury just gave him a total pass. They bought Mark Agnifalo's argument, it appears, the same one that did not work for Agnifalo in the Nexium sex cult case out of Albany, New York, in which he went in there and said, these women, we don't do sex cults. Women are powerful. Women make their own decisions. These women up in this other case chose to have themselves branded. No one made them with this guy's initials. And he tried the same thing here, but with a much, much better result. This is a win for Sean Diddy Combs. There's no question about it. The minimum charge or the charges likely on this particular count are far less serious. It calls for up to 10 years in prison. There's no way he's going to get 10 years in prison on these two, unless you have a judge who's very, very angry for some reason. We looked at the the federal sentencing guidelines, which are just recommendations. The judge doesn't have to follow them. He can go any place between 0 and 10. But we deduced that he has an offense level of about 26 points, which calls for a sentence of 5.25 years to 6.5 years in prison. The base offense level for this crime we deduced to be about 14. This is all on a sliding scale, plus you add another 4 levels because the offense may have involved coercion. Anyway, and then another 4 for causing another person to engage in a sexual act. So if they believe that, if this judge says that that's what happened, he could be facing 5 or 6 years in prison on each count. They would be likely to run consecutive, although it's possible the judge could say they run one after the other, or together, congruent. So we'll see. Likely to run at the same time is my view. There's no way he's getting more than 5 years in prison. But the sentencing won't happen today. That'll happen, I believe, at another hearing. Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.